Take two, I guess. You know, you put me on a computer and I am just a prick. I am a smart-ass, quick-witted, but put me behind a camera and I'm just the slowest dim bulb that you'll ever want to listen to. Nonetheless, we're going to try this again. This is my 1978 Ford Fairmont. I have had this car since 2013, and it has just went through another evolution over the course of the winter. The car has a pretty interesting drivetrain, if I haven't already said it once. This is a 250 six-cylinder out of a 1978 Maverick. However, it is far, far past that. The bottom half is a 250 six-cylinder out of a Maverick, but the top half is courtesy of our boys over from down under in Australia. That is what's called a crossflow head. It's kind of like a Cleveland head in that when you remove that valve cover, there are canted valves in there, and thing came factory with like a 172 rocker, and I changed all of that. Now it's got small block Chevrolet exhaust valves and big block Chevrolet exhaust valves that I'm using as my intake. It's got like a 175 roller rocker and has a roller cam in it. And these things you can't put a roller cam in. So how do you do that, Mike? Well, you cut the side of the motor open so that you can relink the roller lifters. Of course, you can't see all of that shit down there, but the one thing that you should just find staring you straight in the face are those BMW M3 throttle bodies. Yep, that's what they are. I've always wanted an ITB engine, and I made throttle bodies from a 2000 BMW M3 fit this engine. And not wanting to hide all that prettiness, I made that glass top box that lets you look down inside the engine. It's got a small block Chevrolet water pump down there, and I don't know, I'm gonna probably shoot for 15 pounds this year. Right now it's currently on the gate, so it's probably around 7 pounds is what it makes. And at 7 pounds, it's a kick. So it's exactly what I wanted. It's not a 302. I wouldn't have a small block Ford motor jammed up my ass if I had room for a whole junkyard of them up there anymore. They're just been there, done that. Sorry, guys. The black thing that you see on top is my attempt to control my blow-by. I watched some Motor Trend TV thing, and somebody said that equalizing the pressure between the crankcase and the top half of the motor would eliminate that, and it appears that it did. So that's what that hose is doing. It's going down to an oil pan down beneath. That's a Chinese turbo living under that blanket. Something called like a Rev 9. It's like a 72 millimeter turbo. Of course, single wastegate. Used to be a twin scroll turbo on this motor, and I think that this little turbo for $299 is every bit as good as that $700 Borg Warner SX300 that used to be on this engine. I made the hot side, and that's one of the things that I changed over the winter. Is it's now coated. It was painted and wrapped before, and now the thing just doesn't, it's night and day. You can almost touch the exhaust tubes after the motor's been running, after it's set for a couple of minutes, and you can count me happy with that decision. What you can't see here is there's supposed to be a nozzle where the water meth injection would come in. I'm not using an intercooler of any kind on this engine. I'm using water meth from Snow Cooler as my sole means of controlling my air intake temperatures and, of course, my fuel enrichment. I changed a bunch of stuff over the winter on this car. The most noted thing is that I'm going after a theme of the car that never was. In the late 60s, early 70s, Mercury made a thing they called a cyclone spoiler, and then the car died like after 1972. So I am rekindling it, and it makes for a big fun thing at the auto shows and the cruise-ins, because nobody knows what the hell this car is. And then now they see a cyclone spoiler and they come up to me. Been a long time since I've seen one of these. So you still haven't seen one, because it's not actually a cyclone spoiler. I also changed the wheels and tires on this car. Not necessarily the tires, but the wheels. Used to have a Chinese torque thrust type wheel that I had painted. And this time around we've put American Racing AR 500s on the front. It's 1710 on front and a 1711 on the back. 315 rubber in the back and like a 245 rubber up front. The wheels were a pain in the ass. I got to say that. I mean, it took that company 3 times to get that 1711 back to me before they finally got it right. The wing spoiler is part of the theme. Car never had that wing spoiler. It used to have a little ducktail, and again, I made that. This trunk's going to go away. Those ribs or fins you see in the trunk used to be how I exited the heat from the air-to-water intercooler. There were radiators behind this back seat back here that the water would run through those radiators, and then it would discharge that hot air out through the trunk, but that never worked anyway. You can see what's left. That metal mangulated mess that used to be the shroud that used to sit under the trunk. I'm going to take that to work and throw that in their recycled dumpster. Going hand in hand with my theme is a new taillight panel. Of course, Fairmonts don't come with taillights like this. Fairmonts come with cheese bag, plastic, the whole tail of the car is a taillight, and I made all of that. So the car used to have Shelby taillights on it, and again, Shelby taillights belong on a Shelby. Those are actually 1970 Mercury Comet taillights. And for anybody who knows anything about a Comet is a Cyclone. It's just the Cyclone on steroids. I mean, the Comet on steroids, sorry. Of course, all of that change didn't go without its own incident. You can see the scratched up paint on the back bumper that I just fucked up when I dropped the panel onto the back bumper. And that trunk deck isn't going to stay because it's full of holes. So over there, you can see the replacement junkyard hood and the replacement junkyard trunk that I'm going to put on this thing. So that was another thing that I changed. Battery in this car used to be where that oil pan thing was. Oh, by the way, cut the living hell out of myself with a cutoff wheel on an angle grinder. It got away from me and probably needs stitches, but I ain't doing that. I moved the battery so that I could put it behind a partition. My attempt is going to be to clean up this trunk so that I can actually use it. With the battery sitting in there and the water meth pump sitting in here, it's just like, what the hell? So I still have a little bit of work left to do to get the cabling all routed and tied up and shit, but I wanted to start the car, so kind of hodgepodged it, threw it all back in there. The taillight sequence, the Shelby taillights were LED, and they would sequence just like all Mustang type taillights do. So I wanted to save that, and that's one of the things that I kept intact. Upgraded my seats. They used to be some cheapy Summit Procar doo-doo head pain in the ass to ride in for a 100-mile seat. Now I've put these Recaro Corbo wannabes in there, vastly superior. Again, they were a giant pain in the ass to put in, but I did it. The shifter got upgraded. I used to have a B&M ratchet shifter, and now that's some, I don't know, B&M what the fuck. But it's a standard gated shifter, so all you got to do is pull the trigger and pull it into gear and push it forward when it's time to change gears. Also upgraded the audio system. You can kind of barely see it in there. It's now a touchscreen. That audio system used to be down there where the vent is, and I moved it up because obviously that touchscreen would have jamulated itself into that shifter handle, so I had to move the thing up, so that's another thing I changed. This is my passenger, affectionately known as the little Japanese kid, because he kind of looks like it's a little car seat, and it's all loaded with Japanese car stereo, so hence the name. I added the two 6x9s on the both sides because the car ordinarily just had these two component 6.5s in the doors, and I wanted to add more hoop to my hoopty. So I did that. And what else? I guess that's it. Seems like that's enough. The one thing that I did do at the end of the year or last year was that I tweaked the tune, or I tweaked this idle speed, actually. And the idle speed on the car is controlled, by the computer, but when the car's got the AC on, it pulls the motor down too low, and I don't have any kind of a trigger to have my Megasquirt talk to the engine in some way and tell it to ramp up its speed when it's dragged down by the compressor. So I must have, sometime in October of last year, turned those idle screws. And let me tell you, I mean, when you got 6 idle screws and you tweak them ever so tiny, just the littlest tiny bit, you change things dramatically. And for the first several restarts on this engine, damn motor's running at 2,000 RPM. But I finally had an epiphany and actually tapped into the gray matter that's inside my empty ass head and realized, oh shit, maybe I'll just turn those screws back a little bit. So motor's back to its normal self, and we're going to go ahead and do a restart and show you what it sounds like again. It's kind of a combination. Since it has this roller cam, it's just noisier than shit. You hear all kinds of valve train clatter. The fact that it has forged pistons in it, you can hear those things rocking around in there as well. So this motor sounds like a damn diesel truck combined with a mega sewing machine. So I'm going to go ahead and fire it off, and we're going to start this dude up if I don't trip over the tripod. See what I told you? Sounds like it's gonna blow the hell up, but it ain't. That's the way it sounds. Exhaust sounds pretty good. We'll go back there and listen. I'll turn on the sequential turn signals too. It's going to get up to 140 degrees here in a minute, and it's going to slow down, and then for whatever reason the tailpipe starts to vapor starts coming out. I like the look, I like the vibe, it all works out. So I guess that concludes our walk around. That's what we've done for the winter of 2018. Spring of 19, in an attempt to further confuse and befuddle the attendees that come and look at this thing at most car shows. There is the hood. I am going to go after a different look. I went ahead and got a junkyard hood and a junkyard trunk because that trunk's got a hole in it, and it's got all the holes from the ducktail. And the hood has those things on it, and I made those things, and I kind of like them, but they don't carry with my little theme that we're trying to go after. So I'm gonna put that hood scoop on there, and I don't know, it'll be, somewhere up there in the middle of the hood somewhere, and it's off of some Chevrolet junk, like most of the crap in this car is off of some Chevrolet stuff. Chevrolet water pump, Chevrolet oil pump, Chevrolet valves. It's not what makes it run fast. It's just what makes it run good. All right, that's it. Bye now.